Hello and welcome back to the Go for Two podcast, and welcome into our final division preview for this season. It is episode 300. And for episode 300, we had to do the unfortunate Super Bowl winning division, which is of course the NFC East. As anyone watching on YouTube, as Patrick's donning a nice Eagles hat. Of course, I'm Liam, your host, and I'm joined as always by the man who's off to Philly in less than 7 days now. As of course, Patrick. How you doing, mate?
Good. Been the bigger person today, and I haven't worn my Super Bowl jersey. That is not to be worn. I'm going to wear that the game day. That's going to be its debut. So I could have debuted it today, but you know what? I thought, no, I'm bigger than that. So I'm going to save it.
You're kind, see? You're kind. Until the Eagles go 2-1 up on Chiefs on Super Bowls, you have handled it with good decorum. I feel like if it's the Chiefs-Eagles rematch this year and Jalen Hurts beats Patrick Mahomes again, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So cool, we're here, like I said, talk about the NFC East, which is a very exciting division. But before we get into that, there's some news. Very good timing for the NFL to give us an NFC East bit of news today on the pod. That is, of course, one of the biggest trades since Khalil Mack, probably. Matthew Stafford, probably, up there, I think. Tyreek Hill. Micah Parsons is now a Green Bay Packer, which is incredible for any Green Bay fans listening. The deal is 2 first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark, who's got quite a bit of money left on his deal, by the way, for the next couple of years. So it is a bit of a commitment for the Cowboys to take him back. All summer, there's been the back and forth between Parsons, Jerry, David Mulligetta, his agent, who's an absolute super agent in the NFL space. I think most people felt like Micah Parsons would probably get the biggest contract in NFL history the day you turn up in Philly, and then he'd play for the Cowboys. But a few days before the season, mate, he's been traded to Green Bay. What's your? We'll do both sides of the trade from two teams' perspective. What was your initial reaction? Were you shocked? Because I was quite shocked when I saw the initial news of they're going to speak to teams. That was the part that shocked me, and then all the rumors were Green Bay. So I wasn't as shocked when it was done, but I was shocked to hear they were listening to deals.
Yeah, I think it was about 5 or 6 p.m. our time yesterday when Schefter tweeted out, "Oh, the Cowboys are willing to listen," and you're still like, maybe, because I know you said the biggest maybe since Khalil Mack. Like Mack went from the Raiders to the Bears. This is the Cowboys are a whole different ball game. Like playing for the Cowboys and kind of who Micah Parsons is, and then with the Packers, just kind of feels like it blows that out of the water. And it is shocking, to be honest. Like I remember tweeting out, it must have been 3 months ago when they said, "That's it, I'm not playing for the Cowboys anymore. It's over," and whatnot. And I was like, wow. I know I'm going to be there when you're there. Game 1. Week 1 of the season, you are going to be there. So for me, I was shocked, to be honest with you, and just, it takes a while to process because you look from both sides and then you just think, well, it seems boneheaded to me from like a Cowboys aspect, but it's just, really surprising.
Yeah, it's such a big deal as well in terms of what they've got back. 2 first-round picks, Kenny Clark, 2 storied franchises. I don't know as much about the Cowboys as you would, but I was listening to one of their beat writers say that the 3 best teams in the last 20 years for the Cowboys have all gotten knocked out of the playoffs by the Packers as well. So there's a bit of a rivalry there between the 2 franchises, and now he's a Green Bay Packer, which just seems absolutely mental to me. Yeah, only further, we both picked the Packers to win the division, by the way, so only further highlights our Green Bay takes. What about from the Cowboys' perspective? Jerry normally gets these deals done. Didn't get it done this time. I've heard so many takes about, was he watching his own Netflix doc when he was doing crazy trades back in the day, and he wants to do them again. Dak and CD were both quiet in the media, whereas Parsons has come out and been constantly going at Jerry Jones in the media. Why do you think we got to this point and maybe we didn't get the massive deal for him to stay in Dallas like everyone thought?
Yeah, Bill Barnwell, I don't know if you read it, did a great article, and he brought up the first thing that he brought up was it's been a media trade-off, unlike Dak and CD. Jerry Jones, I think a part of it is did not want to come out on the bottom in a media war. So he has kind of said, you're not getting your deal, so if not, I'm shipping you off. He came out, didn't he, and said, "We've done this to make our defense better." And I just think, oh, man, stop talking. It's just, I think I read that they were 29th in EPA per play on defense last year, and that was with Parsons, although he's out for 4 games. But you don't subtract one of the best players in the NFL at any position and then announce you've done it to get better at that position. It is quite ridiculous. It's all financial. and pride based. Because there's nothing that 2 late first round picks is going to get back. What's the best thing that you can go to draft? Micah Parsons is drafting back. Do you know what I mean? Next year, it's kind of ridiculous, really. I feel actually for the Cowboys fans that I know that, like, you know, the level-headed that can talk between, you know, Cowboys, Eagles, and whatnot, and it just I do feel for that because that Super Bowl window, I mean, is short. We're going to talk about Dallas in a bit. Dallas is going to be pretty good on offense, right? I think me and you are both expecting to be really good at offense, and now your defense does not have a lot. If you're in the secondary, you're thinking, man, this is going to be tougher now without one of the best guys in the league up front. So it's just, for me, it doesn't make only you can sell it on the financial and pride aspect. That doesn't mean that that's right.
No, yeah, especially the pride aspects. Yeah, financial is difficult for me just because they are like the most highest valued sports franchise in the world, and they've just made so much money off that Netflix doc. It's like, come on, do you know what I mean? I think like if there's one team who should have paid the deal, it's obviously them. And I think they could have got it cheaper than what the Packers did 2 months ago. It's just again, like the Bengals, they just do everything at the last minute and put themselves in a bit of a hole. But yeah, there's some other stuff that, yeah, like you said, he didn't just say about the defense better. He did a whole 11-minute answer on how this is going to help them be better against the run. And I'm like, we'll talk about the division. Obviously, you need to be good in the division against the run, against the 3 teams. But it just made me laugh that like you're trading probably the best, if not the second best pass rusher in the world to be better against the run. I was like, and the player you're trading him for has not been good for like 2 seasons in general. So yeah, he used to be good against the run, but he's not really good against the run anymore. So yeah, that whole logic didn't make sense. The Herschel Walker comparisons, I thought, again, quite funny for Jerry to bring that up. Apparently, it was unanimous. Everyone in the organization, everyone in the coaching staff agreed this was the right trade. I'm like, I think Jerry Jones thought this was the right trade, and that everyone just says yes, Jerry, to whatever he wants. But yeah, you're right. I feel sorry for Cowboys fans. Friend of the pod, Tim, who's started the Full 10 Yards Network a few years ago. He's a big Cowboys fan. He's quite negative against them. And since we've been doing the pod, I feel like I've been quite pro Cowboys. I think I picked them to get to the Super Bowl once. I picked them to win the division 3 of the years. So I'm always like pro Cowboys to him. And he's always just like, no, it's a complete shit show, basically. And then, yeah, yesterday he just said, yeah, not surprised. Like, obviously this was going to happen. Like, Jerry's completely lost it. So I feel bad for them like you. And I feel pretty bad for Eberflus. We'll talk about him coming in as DC to have another chance, maybe be a future head coach, and then he comes in, his whole defense is revolving around one person, then they just trade him. They trade him way after the draft as well, which makes it worse. So now they can't get better. Yeah, I think it's just not a good move.
That's an aspect we've not even spoke about, is the timing of it. It's a week before the season. You traded your best player a week before the season. It's just that none of that makes any sense, that aspect of it.
No, they would have got a better deal pre-draft because someone higher up the draft. What's the best case if you're Dallas? The Packers picks are 22 is I think the best case.
Yeah.
And like they could have got a top 10 pick probably. And still got other picks and like 2 first-round picks, definitely. I know there's the bit that Parsons would have had to agree to a deal, so like he wasn't just going to agree to a deal with anyone. That's why the Packers were the favorite, because he likes the idea of playing for the Packers. But I think they could have just got a better deal if they would have done it earlier or paid him earlier. Either or would have worked. The other thing I found funny was I saw a headline from Schefter that Jerry Jones wouldn't rule out using these first-round picks now to get better before this season. I'm like, if they did that, that would be even worse. If they just traded a first-round pick for, I don't know, some average or good player on defense, and they traded one for some good offensive lineman like Quentin Nelson, I'd be a bit like, okay, but what are you doing? You just traded Michael Parsons. I found that was funny.
I don't see that happening at all. I think that was
I agree.
Jerry smoke. That was like he's a dangerous weapons. He's got these 2 draft picks now.
Yeah, he's got Kenny Clark and 2 extra picks. It's quite fun next year though that Cowboys and the Rams have 2 first-round picks from a draft quarterback perspective, because it'd be quite smart for the Cowboys to trade Dak probably for a first-round pick and then spend 2 first-round picks to go get Sellers or Arch Manning. That'd be a very cool story. I don't think the Manning family would let him play for Dallas, but that'd be quite a cool story. But yeah, it's just hilarious how Jerry's trying to spin it. What about the other side then? Sounds like we're both pro this deal from the Packers. I think last year everyone said they were wide receiver 1 and an elite pass rusher away. We don't know if they've got the wide receiver 1. signs are they've tried, and it might have been a good decision with Golden. Now they've also got Micah Parsons. They're the first team ever to spend 100 million on 2 players in one season with Love and Parsons. They're fan owned, and even us say they only normally add 1 player in free agency. They've been super aggressive here. Personally, I love it. I think it's the right player. He's the right age. He's a year younger than Khalil Mack when he got traded. I think it's a smart move. They don't often work out, these giant moves for the team. Who does it if you haven't got a quarterback, especially? But I think they've got a quarterback, so I'm a big fan of this move.
I think you would have to be super biased, the biggest Chicago Bears fan ever, to find any negative aspect, honestly, like the dollar value on the deal or whatever. But there was not a team in football that wouldn't have done this deal. 2 late round first draft picks, right? Unless Jordan Love is out all season, and they will still be pretty good with Malik Willis. You know what I mean? They still might win 9 games with him. You're going to be in the 20s. Every team would have done that in the league, to be honest with you. They're obviously instant contenders now in the NFC, which is, feels top heavy, but not top heavy with quarterbacks like we always discussed, right? So it feels perfect move for them. And if Matthew Golden is what they think he is, then exciting season ahead for Green Bay, right? It feels like it would be tougher to meet them now in the playoffs, of course.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And their secondary, we mentioned in the preview, looks really good. Linebackers, we think, could be good. Pass rush has got a lot of first-round picks, but none of them are quite playing that well. You fix that problem up front now. That makes everyone else better up front. The secondary's still really good. The DC's still really good. And the offense should be, has always been top 10 under Matt LaFleur. So it feels like, health permitting, they've made the right decision here. And it could be a big move. But it's going to be weird seeing him in that jersey the first time, I think.
Also, Jaden Reed is number 11. I've not seen what number he's going to wear or anything yet.
Did I make up that I saw him wear 18? Maybe.
Have you seen a mock-up, have you, with the number 18?
I might have seen a mock-up. Let's Google it. Because, all he could pay, he's just the most expensive non-quarterback in the NFL history. So we could just buy Jaden Reed's jersey off him. That probably seems like a smart.
The way, though, in it from the season, that feels quite tricky.
Yeah, it does. It does. Whilst I'm Googling jersey numbers, what are your thoughts on the contract? $47 million a year, highest non-paid quarterback ever. I think he actually gets $6 million raise on the person next on that list. It's an absolute mammoth deal. The guarantees were $120 million, I think. What are your thoughts on that side of things?
Well, I mean, it's monstrous, isn't it? But that's what you have to pay, isn't it? It's a big jump, obviously, from number 2. But like I said, I love the Packers taking a swing. It's not something that we often see from them, is it? So maybe in 3 years' time, the deal will come out and look good for them. I think if they win a Super Bowl, or they would love to get back to a Super Bowl, it will all seem worth it, right?
Yeah. It will. I've seen no confirmation of said jersey number. There's about 5 articles that says, will Jaden Reed give up number 11 for Micah Parsons? There's one that says Packers Parsons jersey number could be a huge dilemma due to number of retired jersey numbers in Green Bay, which I didn't know. And there's one article which says this trade could solve the Packers jersey number dilemma. And I'm like, I never knew the Packers had such a history with jersey number issues, but apparently they do. We'll see. Maybe in our week 1 preview, we'll come back and discuss Micah Parsons wearing number whatever. Feels like he'd look good in 0, by the way. I don't know if the Packers would do 0, but I like their.
My problem is with the number 0. I really liked it when it came in like 3 years ago. I feel like there's still not been a good player yet that's had a good season in the number 0.
Brian Burns is good, but is he good? Has he been good enough? I don't know if there's
exactly,
wearing. Oh, Jameer Gibbs has moved to 0.
He has moved to 0. He's not been on the field yet with 0, has he?
Week 1 ACL. I don't want to put that out there, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, overall view from our pod then is Jerry's a fool. We shouldn't have done this. Obviously, it is a lot of money to pay, but we love it for the Packers, and we'll see what he looks like wearing a Green Bay jersey. And it means that you do not get the joy of watching Micah Parsons play, unfortunately, in person in week 1. But it also means Jordan Mailata will not have to get embarrassed by Micah Parsons in week 1. So
pancake him again this season. It's a shame to miss out on seeing him live, but anything to win that game. I don't think I could go and watch them lose to the Cowboys, which is obviously, of course, still a big option.
Less likely. Yeah, it would be crushing. Maybe you'll see an NFC title game when you fly back over and you go to Philly and it's Packers at at Philly, you'll be able to see.
We'll have to discuss this over/under for Philadelphia for the NFC title game to be in Philly, but maybe a trip to Green Bay. I've never been there.
Yeah, no, there we go. Cool. Let's move on then and talk about the NFC East. We spent a lot of time there talking some Cowboys, so we'll catch up with them later. We're going to go in the order they finished in last year, which was Eagles as your division champs, Commanders getting into the playoffs, Cowboys as the third place team, and the Giants for the top 5 pick again. Well, they basically have had every year since we've been doing the pod. We both have 2 spots left for playoffs, and I'm slightly regretting that because before this news, I was picking a certain team from Jerry's world to be in the playoffs. Now I'm probably not, and I'm not happy with having 2 spaces left. So we'll see if I can fill them by the end of the pod. But we'll start with your Super Bowl champ Eagles, mate. A bit of an uneventful offseason, I would say, when I look through the moves. They've not had the biggest offseason in terms of player changes, but obviously the roster was already really good. On offense, they had that Mechie trade. They re-signed Dotson as well to try and play wide receiver 3. And there was a funny moment where they claimed Willie Lampkin off the Rams, who designated him with an injury when they cut him. And apparently no one ever picks those players up. Howie decided to pick him up. On defense, Jard Campbell was a big pick. He's been playing really well in camp, apparently. Andrew Makuba, a player that me and Lee in the draft pod absolutely loved. They also had a Ty Robinson in the draft, who's had a good camp. And then Azizu Jalari and Josh Uche, they're kind of flyers at defensive end to try and get some, one of those guys to stay on the field. But they were both really, really good 2 years ago. Coaching staff-wise, it's the same staff across the board, basically. Their win total is 11.5 wins, which is probably one of the ones that you actually already know before the pod from your Eagles pods, I'm sure. And their strength of schedule is 29th in the NFL, so one of the hardest in the league. And it is a very tough schedule when you look at some of the early games as well. Let's stay positive then. First of all, how can we not with the Super Bowl champs? What's your reasons to believe in the team?
The top level talent is better than anyone else's, is what I would say, to be honest. I think the pieces on the offensive line in total is the best in the NFL. You got AJ Brown, you got Devontae Smith. I mean, my God, Saquon Barkley just morphed into something that we've kind of not seen in the NFL since like LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson last year. Hurts has been great in the system with not trying to do too much last season, took away the giveaways by not pushing the ball down the field because the Eagles have a lot of ways to win on offense. And I think that's the key going forward as well. Same with the defense, a lot of top level talent. I just think if the talent plays to the level, obviously new OC, Kevin Patullo, because he's gone to the Saints, obviously.
Kellen Moore, I forgot.
Yeah, six play callers in 6 years, by the way, for Jalen Hurts. It's an interesting career arc that way. If the talent stays healthy, plays up to that level, Eagles will win 11 to 13 games, and in January, you will have to knock them out to get to the Super Bowl. And I just think the long and short of it is, if everyone is healthy, it's going to look good at some point. The schedule's rock hard. I actually expect maybe even a losing record after 5 weeks is possible, but it wouldn't worry me as long as the health was still there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, you tell me if I'm wrong from what you've listened to, but from what I hear, the general consensus is there's the 3 teams in the AFC with the top 3 quarterbacks, and then there's the Eagles, and they're in like a top 4 of, doesn't mean they're going to be the best 4 in terms of record, because they've all, 3 of them have got super hard schedules. Talent-wise, who's going to win the Super Bowl? Every pod I listen to, those 4 are always mentioned. I think the Packers are probably going to be the 5th team now, to be honest, but they're always mentioned. It feels like to me that the Eagles are the least likely to have like 7 wins, 8 wins of that group. Maybe the Chiefs, because they just Andy Reid. But they're probably least likely, I think, to have 15 as well, 14, 15, because of their schedule. Whereas I think I could see the Ravens, the Bills, maybe not the Chiefs this year, but the Ravens and the Bills, especially the Packers, 14, 15 wins. Whereas it feels like you're right that the Eagles are going to be somewhere between 10 and 13. I don't know if that's the sense you get. They've got a high floor and a good high ceiling, but not as high maybe because of the schedule as the other teams.
No, I completely agree with that because the schedule, it's like a gauntlet at times. You simply don't win all of those games. It's just fine. I think the goal, win the division, home playoff games. If the talent is there, then I think another Super Bowl appearance is well within grasp. I do think there's great teams in the NFC that could challenge Philadelphia, but for me, it's all about health. They found out with adding in Saquon alongside Jalen Hurts as he's quite a quiet person, and he kind of the media obviously talks way more than he does. I actually think he is so happy to be in his system and not having to drop back 40 times. This is on you. Go and prove it. Do you know what I mean? It was never him through college either. You know, it kind of failed at Alabama when he had to transfer then to Oklahoma and stuff. His role is played perfectly, and he is the only player in the league that can kind of play like, Eagles had like Lamar or Josh Allen, that'd be great. Exactly. You know, the Eagles would throw it more, and it just Hurts is such a danger on the ground as well, obviously short yardage, and just he fits that system like perfectly. And I think that's where a lot of the talk in the media and other fans like don't really get that. It's okay that he's not Mahomes in the pocket. It's fine because he's Jalen Hurts from the Eagles, and it's just as hard to stop, you know. So it's just exactly. It's just football played in a different way. So it's just if the health is there, I would be really surprised at anything less than an NFC title game. To be honest with you, I'd be really surprised.
He's a big game player as well. He seems to always play better in the big games. He's actually more likely to lose a random 6-o'clocker to a crap team where you're like,
no, he is. Yeah.
Why are the Eagles like 16-16 against the Panthers? You know, it's like, what the hell? Whereas he'll go on the road to Arrowhead, or every Super Bowl I've watched, you know, the best quarterback performances. The actual best one was Hurts in the first Super Bowl against the Chiefs. It's just like he plays better in those games against the Commanders, maybe. He was really good in the game that you went to. I think that was the game you went to, wasn't it? That game?
Yeah, the Rams game. Yeah, he was.
The Rams game. Sorry, yeah. Commanders game is what was one after. Yeah, he was really good in that game as well. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't personally love him as a quarterback, but you can't argue with the results. And like you said, the system, which is probably something Sirianni, especially for me, I don't really like him as a head coach either, but it's him that probably sets that system, to be honest. Howie with the roster, obviously. But, you know, the fact they've had all these different play calls on offense and they've kept it similar enough, that's Sirianni's knowledge of being like, no, we know what works with this guy. We can make small tweaks, but let's stick to the philosophy and we'll win games. And I think, you know, that's probably positive on him that he's managed to keep that around him. So, yeah, you're right. In terms of reason to believe in them, I think your top-tier talent is there. I think this is a same happens everywhere. It happened to the Chiefs last year, but every team that plays all those playoff games like the Eagles did last year, health next season will be massive. But if they stay healthy, the top-tier talent is very good. And I think the offense actually has a step to go up because the pass offense wasn't very good last year in the regular season, but in the playoffs, you could see how good it could be. So for me, I think one of the reasons to believe in them is that even if the defense isn't as good as last year, I think the offense could take a step up through the air this year.
No, I completely agree with you. Obviously, there was at times where AJ Brown was going weeks under 50 yards. Do you know what I mean? Not a lot of targets at all. So you kind of get that improvement incrementally there with him and Devontae. By the way, got an undrafted rookie on the roster, Darius Cooper at wide receivers, received rave reviews this offseason. Cool. So that'll be interesting. Looking for a third, I think. I like the Mechie trade. I like the Dotson trade last year. He was okay in the playoffs, but regular season felt like he didn't contribute too much. It was never open, which when you've got AJ Brown and
you should always be.
You should be open sometimes, you know. So
yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah, and Tanner McKee's the backup. What more reason do you want to believe? He's better than the starter, so that's what I keep hearing on Twitter. So yeah. Any other reasons you want to mention to believe in them? Probably should mention Jalen Carter, I would say, somewhere.
Yeah, of course, Jalen. I mean, the top tier talent on the defense is still there. You know, obviously Campbell has had a great camp, and I think looking to be like last year. Obviously, we had the two rookies in Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. That was the first time in a while that the Eagles had kind of plugged in defenders that were a high draft pick, and it had just like click straight away. Do you know what I mean? Jordan Davis kind of took a while to get into there, and obviously Carter was okay during his rookie season, but then he kind of blossomed. So it was expecting instant impact from Giard Campbell as well, to be honest with you. But Carter is just a total monster, just a pleasure to have on your team.
Yeah, he's going to be big this year as well because he wasn't as good at the start of the regular season last year, mainly because. Yeah, I think it just took him a while to get going, and then as the season went on, he just turned into an absolute beast. Yeah, and Makuba as well had a really good preseason. Loved him in college, or in the draft process. So yeah, I'm hoping that he ends up being a good player. Cool. Reasons not to believe in them then. I'm a bit worried about Saquon Barkley. Last year was his healthiest season since his rookie year. It's not just the stat that everyone who does fantasy football keeps hearing, that he had the most touches of any running back ever, I think, last season, including the playoffs. But he is an injury-prone player historically, and last year he wasn't. And I do think if you take him out, the offense is very different. I think they have to pass it a lot because I think people didn't realize how good that the backup running back was last year, Kenny Gainwell. I'm not sure Will Shipley and AJ Dillon are that level of backup. They might add someone in the next week, like the Eagles do. But for me, I'd be a bit worried about Saquon Barkley's health. And then I think it's the secondary for me is that the depth in the secondary maybe isn't as good as the depth on the defensive line and the offensive line is. So I think they're my only two, really. I think the rest is kind of set to be an elite team.
Well, I think, to be honest, if Saquon went down, I think the nooses would be out in Philadelphia because I think it all rides on his signing. To be honest with you, it took the Eagles to that level. Just Philadelphia had not seen that level of offense kind of ever really before. I mean, we've had great offenses before, but not to that kind of superstar level. But my reason to not believe is, of course, cornerback 2, which is, I think, next week. When I'm sat there in my seat, I'm shaking my fist alongside 73,000 other people when Dak Prescott is shredding up and down the field, which I can see happening. It's not been a good, anytime anyone goes back, it's actually pretty funny if you go back and watch what Vic Fangio was saying about the cornerback 2 battle. To be honest, he's so deadpan, and it's just, no one at the moment. Keely Ringo's on one of that's very scary. To be honest with you, obviously got Adoree Jackson there. They trade for Jacorian Bennett from the Raiders. The hope is that maybe in the second half of the season he has a feel for the system that Fangio plays, and he's going to kind of improve that. But at the beginning, I think the Eagles are going to ship a lot of yards because there's a lot of good quarterbacks on that schedule to begin with.
Yeah, there is, yeah. And going back to the first game, Dak is the prime one who will just throw at the same corner over and over again.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be a pick where maybe a safety or a linebacker cut because they know what's coming. But yeah, you are right. If it's Pickens, which it probably will be Pickens, I think he's going to get like 10 targets in that game. Yeah, and I'm not sure Ringo's the right option. Adoree Jackson, I thought, would, on paper, as an outsider, I thought he would get the start, but he doesn't seem to have played with the first or the seconds at times in preseason, from what I've read.
From what Vic Fangio just kind of has said, that he just hasn't separated himself from anyone during training camp, which is a shame. But yeah.
Any other reasons not to believe, or are you fully all in? What about the defensive line? I know
if you avoid Kenyon Mitchell on one side of the field, you're going to get as many yards as you want for a while, and you just have to hope that the Eagles have got so many playmakers on defense that eventually one of them is going to make a play, right? So
yeah, Turner.
Jalix Hunt, by the way, is kind of looking good. They have lost some top tier talent, obviously, on the defensive line, but looks like he's going to take a next step.
Yeah, 2 of the starters are obviously gone, so it's going to be a different unit. Jomo or maybe Uche will play third downs. Jalix Hunt will probably play second downs. But yeah, we'll see what it looks. Might take a while to get into it.
Yeah,
be week 7-8 again, where it then gets better and better. They'll probably make a trade as well for a pass rusher. And there's still players out there. I think Clowney, Zadarius Smith, they feel like Eagles, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. Cool. Win total then, 11.5. You got to go first. You beat me in the Super Bowl, so you can go. Where are you going?
I'm going to go over. I should go under, really, because I actually think the Eagles may win 11, but I'm going to go over. 12 games is creeping over, but seems realistic. Would have to beat some of the better teams on the schedule, but I'd be very happy with 11 wins, to be honest. I think that wins the division, and we'll see you in January. I think that's going to be the attitude.
Yeah, I struggle with this one, to be honest, because it feels like they're going to win 11 or 12 games, which is why Vegas are incredibly good at setting the line. So I've gone for under just because of the schedule and to contradict you, because I knew you'd go over. We've got to have some rivalry because I feel like our two teams might be seeing each other again in one of the next 2 Super Bowls. So I've gone for under 11.5, but I think 12 wins wouldn't shock me, to be honest. I would be like, if they get 14, 15 wins with that, like you said, with the corner 2, all the changes on the pass rush, and that probably means Saquon stayed healthy for the whole year. I think that's a hell of a season. So yeah, I'll go just under, but yeah, don't feel great about it. Let's move on to the Commanders then, because obviously we had a bit of a trade talk at the start to make the episode a bit longer. The darling of last season, to be honest. They've had a busy off-season, very Texans-y from last year. They've added Deebo Samuel and Noah Brown as wide receivers. Larry Tunsor's come in from the Texans at left tackle. Josh Connolly's been added in the draft at right tackle. Ja'Cory Korski-Merritt, a name I never thought I would be saying 6 weeks ago, but he's their new starting running back in the draft. His name's Bill, so we can get to call him Bill, which is very exciting for this pod. We love a Bill. And then on defense, one of the signings we hated, Javon Kinlaw, was one of their biggest moves. So they spent good money on him. Von Miller came in recently, a move that we haven't actually had a chance to talk about. And then Trey Amos was a player that Lee on our pod really liked in the draft, and he's come in as well to play for them. Some big moves for them. It's the same coaching staff as what it was last year. You know, Cliff comes back at OC. Dan Quinn's going to call the defense. Strength of schedule is the easiest in the division, 19th in the NFL, and their win total is 9.5. So not quite into double digits. Let's go positives again. Reasons to believe in them. Your division rival, mate. What do you think? What were the reasons you sit as a Philly fan that you think the Commanders could be good?
Of course, it all hinges on the man they drafted last year. He was exceptional, right? For me, it's Jaden Daniels alongside a stable, really lucky actually to have the season that he had and then to keep your OC, right? So Cliff, they worked so well together. I mean, Cliff himself has had a renaissance probably because of Jaden Daniels. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's great. Keeping Dan Quinn as your head coach. For me, that base is great base to build from for Washington. I'd expect Daniels' play to be, they would hope it would be as good as last year. You know, they had little things to clean up and whatnot, but I mean, it was an exceptional rookie season, and anyone that didn't pick him first overall in Chicago were probably thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen to us now? And yeah, for me, it's just that, and you're rolling it back in his second year. Everyone would hope. Feels a little bit CJ Stroudy, like he was exceptional in his rookie season, and then it was highly disappointing in his sophomore season. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But for me, bringing back Jaden and Cliff together is a great win.
Yeah, they also, like I said, it feels very Texansy. They made a couple of all-in moves after their first year, like the Commanders have done now with the Debo and the Laramie Tunsil trade. So we'll see how that works out for them. But yeah, you're right. Reason to believe in them. It's obviously Jaden Daniels. I like the fact they re-signed Terry McLaurin as well. I think that was an important move. He's really good last year, and I think without him, wide receiver room is a bit mid probably. So I think he was an important player for them to bring back. The other reason I've got to believe in them, but this is a risky one, it could be either way, is I said last year like I hated the offensive line, and they played really well. And on paper, most of the guys are still there, and I'm still not sure. But if their two tackles work out, and you've got a player like Jaden Daniels who can already avoid pressure, the offense is going to be super hard to stop. So they're going to have tons of start at left tackle, of course. And then right tackle will be Josh Connolly, like I mentioned, who they drafted in the first round. If those two players play well, then I think the offense is going to be extremely difficult to stop. And I think we'll talk about the defense in a minute, but I think they'll put up a lot of points if that's the case. So that was another reason for me. And I do quite like the secondary as well. It's not the best on paper, but if you look at how the players played last year and how they played throughout camp, there's been a lot of talk about how good the secondary has looked for Washington. So yeah, they're my kind of main reasons to believe in them.
Yeah, Lattimore, they would hope for much better, right? For that was on the field, the trade didn't look great, did it? But no, they did obviously. But they would hope for much better this season.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and he's been healthy for the first time in a camp for a while, and we'll see how long that holds up. Anything else you want to mention on reasons to believe in them? Obviously, still quite like Dan Quinn as a head coach. Prove me wrong, but I'm glad they've also kept him. It's not, they've got him there calling the defensive plays. Was a lot of teams lose their OC or DC. They've kept both their play calls. I think that's probably a positive for them.
No, definitely Dan Quinn. Something he does pops up in my reasons to not believe, but overall, I think it's a really solid base. I like Dan Quinn. I like him as a guy as well. I think he comes across really well. Feels like somebody that your franchise can get behind.
Yeah, he's not as good as this guy, but he's a very Harbory with Lamar. That relationship seems like him and Jaden are going to have a similar vibe with that. Cool. Reasons not to believe in them then. When you kick us off, what have you got down?
Well, I've got the fact that they're the oldest roster in the NFL, to be honest with you, feels an issue with maybe some health down the line. They've had some turnover in important positions, but a big one for me, like I just said about Dan Quinn, their fourth down conversion rate last year was absolutely ridiculous, and that will regress because it always does. And the fact that they've won so many one-score games is they probably got a couple of regular season wins to add to their total that they definitely shouldn't have got. One, including the boneheaded Chicago game, if you remember, with the Hail Mary, and then that Jalen Hurts went down with a concussion in the game at Washington, and they kind of pulled that out against Kenny Pickett. And maybe got a couple of wins over what they should have done. And to me, following years, you always regress back to the mean because that's just mathematics, right? It's just your fourth down conversion rate is not going to... Just the same as the Eagles with the tush push. Like teams like Tampa Bay learn how to stop it with the biggest bodies that you can find. So eventually it's going to get worse. And for me, I think that is likely to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, they're prime regression candidate in that regard. I think it was 9 one-score games, and it was 87% on fourth down. League average is like 54, I think, or 56 now, or maybe slightly higher. But a lot of that is the Eagles and the Lions who convert 70-80% of their fourth downs regularly, and they still finished at 87%, which is absolutely mental. So yeah, I agree with you that that's a prime reason. I think the average age, everyone thinks that they're an young team because of Daniels, but like you said, they're an older team. For me, it's the run game as well. Now, the run game will always be better than it should be because you've got a running quarterback, so you've got an extra threat of a kind of read option. But the pure run game, I would like to see them take a little bit of pressure off Jaden Daniels at times, so he doesn't have to do everything. And again, the story we've mentioned about Big Bill at running back's a great story, but can he do it in the NFL? We'll find out. Signs are looking good. Austin Eckler's played well last year, but he is one of the older players that you mentioned. So I'm a bit worried about that from a run game perspective. And then the defensive line, I'm just not sure about it. I think it was really good 2 years ago. It was good last year, but every year they lose someone, and then they just sign someone else for good money that I don't think is as good. So you got Dorrance Armstrong going to start. You got Kinlaw, who looks like he's going to start. I'm not sure in the NFC when you have to go against those offenses, the Vikings, the Packers, the Eagles. I'm not sure it's a good enough defensive line to stop, unless Von Miller rolls the years back. But just didn't see that in Buffalo, did we?
Yeah, we used to talk a couple of years ago. I remember when we get the depth charts up, and you can obviously we use our lads, and you see where the players have been drafted, and all on the defensive line. It was first round. It's all gone now, except for Deron Payne. It's all, like you said, they've been replaced with lesser players. Mm. So it feels like the regression there. Frankie Luvu had a good season last year. He was good in the playoffs as well, by the way. So yeah, feels like a step down there, to be honest, on the line, which is a worry with the way that football is played in the NFC, I would say.
Yeah, it's a bigger issue, I think, in the NFC. In the AFC, they could just be a win shootouts, but in the NFC, there's going to be some slower games with more running, I think. So yeah. Okay, cool. Under over then. Sounds a bit negative, but I am actually going positive on this answer. I've gone over 9.5, and I was under until a certain trade happened in the last 24 hours, and I may or may have not swapped two teams around. So I've gone over 9.5 but I think it's going to be close. They're prime Mr. Playoff team.
Oh, mate, until you just said it, so I'm just copying off you. But honestly, I can't remember something. We said it on the pod the other week. You said, remember you've got 2 NFC East teams to get in the playoffs. I was like, yeah, the Eagles and the Cowboys.
Same.
Washington are going to be a disappointment this season. But now what do you do? Now Dallas look all of a sudden. So I'm going to go under. And I still think that could get you the last slot, winning 9 games.
Spoiler alert coming for later on, I think, with us on the pod. But yeah, under 9.5. Interesting, yeah. But it sounds like you think they'll still be good. 7, 8,
I think
9,
they'll still be good, and it wouldn't shock me if they went over. The schedule is much kinder. Obviously, the 2 Eagles-Washington games is the last 3 weeks of the season, which is quite interesting. The division will probably up for grabs.
Yeah, they're not. They're the opposite of a lot of teams we've chatted about. The Chiefs. I can't remember the other team we said had a really hard schedule. The Chiefs, Eagles. There's one more that we were like, Jesus Christ, this is awful. But basically, all their games are at the start, whereas Washington, their harder games are towards the end. Yeah. Which I think is the worry with the injuries, because they're an old team. So if they get injured down the stretch, that's a worry, but we'll see. Let's move on to the Cowboys then. We've spoken a lot about their defense already, so we probably won't have a bit of time on that. But let's talk about the players they've added. So on offense, George Pickens was obviously a really, really big one. Tyler Booker in the first round of the draft to play guard. They got 3 Tylers on the offensive line, which is always great. Jaden Blue as well. Was it Texas, I think? Absolute rapid running back in the draft. Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders also added in free agency. They're trying to find a running back from somewhere. On defense, Azaraku is a pass rusher that I quite liked, probably a bit more than the other guys on the pod in the summer. He was added in the draft. Dante Fowler returns after going to the Commanders with Dan Quinn. Peyton Turner comes over from the Saints to play pass rusher. Solomon Thomas comes in to play defensive tackle, and Jack Sanborn comes in as well to play linebacker to try and fix their linebacker woes. They have had a coaching staff change. Obviously, Brian Schottenheimer is the new head coach, and he'll be the offensive play caller. It's been confirmed. The Cardinals run game coach, as we mentioned in that pod, who did an incredible job last year, he's their new OC, so he's going to be the one doing the running attack for them, so that could be fruitful. And Matt Eberflus replaces Mike Zimmer, who felt like he was there just to take paychecks and find young girlfriends. So that was all Mike Zimmer did. Their win total is 7.5, which is low for the Cowboys. And their strength of schedule is 22nd, so slightly harder than the Commanders, but not as hard as the Eagles, of course. We've spent so long talking about them in the episode already, but negatively. What are the reasons to believe in them, would you say, mate, for your biggest rivals, probably the Cowboys?
The passing attack should be excellent, to be honest. Really does feel like Dak's going to have a good season, to be honest with you. I quite like Dak Prescott kind of as a guy and his career arc, obviously being a 4th-round pick. And, yeah, I've liked his career. He's always played really well against Philadelphia, so I kind of respect that. And I just think the weapons that he's got, the line should be good. You know, he's added in Pickens. He's obviously got Lamb. Ferguson, bad season last season for Jake Ferguson. I expect him to bounce back with Dak this year. So for me, could be one of the better passing attacks in the NFL. Now, whether that's enough overall, but it's going to be good for Dak, I think. Like you said earlier during the Parsons thing, he looks a trade candidate next year, to be honest with you. He's going to be 33 next summer. And it feels like a bit of a Matt Stafford kind of trade arc that Stafford kind of did at that similar age to the Rams and won a Super Bowl. I do think that is a big, big option. As the season goes on, we may start seeing that kind of creep in, maybe.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the fact that if they lose a playoff game, it's another one that he's lost. So if you're the owner, who's the GM, it's very easy just to go, we're just not winning with this guy in the playoffs. Like, I don't think, obviously, fans will be annoyed. They'll be annoyed at Cherry. But there's more logic to that approach of, like, it hasn't quite worked out here. You know, they'll have 3 first-round picks because Dak would definitely get a first-round pick back in a trade. So there's some logic there. Maybe for once in Jerry's life, there's some logic there. But
by the way, we didn't speak about this during the Parsons trade bit. Don't you love being the owner and the GM? You are unfireable. It's great.
The other thing we didn't speak about is this only comes like 6 months almost to the day of when Luka was traded. So any people from Dallas to support both teams is a complete disaster.
Mate, there's so many jerseys. I know that people will have both jerseys as well.
Yeah, and in the NBA, anyone who's not an NBA fan listens to this, you normally rack up the jerseys. So you're getting 4 jerseys every year. They're all different. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the star player. It's not like the NFL where many people buy the 10th best player in the team. So yeah, there's people out there probably 4 Luka jerseys and Michael Parsons home and away, and it's just a disaster. But yeah, Patrick's smiling as an Eagles fan with that one. What are the other reasons to believe in them? Because the passing attack was the same for me. I wrote that down. I think the coaching staff could be an upgrade. I think Eberflus could be better than Zimmer. I think Schottenheimer could be better than McCarthy. I think he had gone stale. I keep banging on about the Cardinals guy who calls run plays. I think that could be an upgrade on the run game last year in terms of scheme. I think they'll have a better run game this year, despite the running backs being a bit all over the place just because of the scheme. So for me, I could only really put passing game and coaching staff. After that, I was going to put top-end talent on defense, but not anymore.
Afraid not.
So yeah, was there anything else, or is it just that for you as well?
What about something that we never talk about? And Dallas, they have the best kicker in the league. And in Aubrey,
I drafted him last night in a 32-team fantasy league. And kickers go really early because there's not many kickers. So you need to draft a kicker in 32 leagues, or else you're going to lose 8 points a week. And I did get Brandon Aubrey early, which is probably shameful, but I did, and I'm happy with that. And he'll probably score a 70-yard field goal this year, I'd imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy Cam Little from the Jags maybe battling it out. But yeah, solid offensive special teams. I'm a bit like you. The run game, like you said, is going to incrementally gain from the scheme, right? I really like Jaden Blue to be really good. I liked him in Texas. I would really like it because otherwise, a backfield of Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders is really sad. actually. That's going to be sad to watch if Jaden Blue is out injured and Jalen Carter's just completely mauling those two guys later on in the year. I just feel like, oh, no, this is a bit sad, actually. Because if you remember last season, the Eagles whooped Dallas twice. It's not that fun. And I want Dallas to be good, so then you can beat them when they're good. That's the best thing about rivalries, right? So it's just, hopefully they'll have a better run.
Your rivals to be good. That's what we learn from this. But yeah, we're already into the negatives there. But yeah, you're right. It would be nice if Jaden Blue was good. He's more of a third down back at times in college as well. Yeah, he's rapid. He's good at catching passes as well. So we'll see. Reasons not to believe in them. I don't think we need to talk about the defensive talent too much because we talked about it a lot earlier. You mentioned the line being good, which I don't disagree with. It could be good. I think it's high variance this year. Tyler Guyton coming off the injury at left tackle. They've obviously lost Zach Martin. They've got a new center. I think it could be good, definitely. But I'm a bit worried. I think there's some variance there that we could see some stinkers at the start of the season, to be honest. I think that's a bit of a worry for me. And then obviously there's always the worry if George Pickens turns into a head case.
That is a big worry because I think the variance of the whole Cowboys season is not that huge because I don't think that they could get up to 10, 11 wins. To be honest, losing Mike, I just don't think that overall that's there. But the variance in how crazy the season could be feels like it could land on George Pickens if he behaves himself and kind of acts within himself like he did do at times in Pittsburgh. He'll be a great addition. However, if that starts to go wrong there, it's going to look quite ugly, isn't it? And then it's where you feel for a first-time head coach as well.
Yeah, you do, yeah. Yeah, he's been around teams for a while, but it's different, isn't it? Been in the main chair, so we'll see. Yeah. I do think if you're a fantasy football player, the CeeDee Lamb stock's huge, just because Pickens is pure X. That means CeeDee Lamb, they can line him up wherever they want on every play, and he'll be the first read. And I think he'll be huge. If he stays healthy and Dak stays healthy, I think there'll be a lot of yards. And then Pickens will just get a lot of good opportunities because of how good Lamb is. So I think there'll be a lot of yards there, but you're right. It's a bit volatile from that regard. And then again, reason not to believe in them is Jerry Jones. I don't think we need to add much to that.
No, we don't. But although I would say, if you're listening to this or watching on YouTube and you've not watched the Cowboys documentary, you should go watch it. It's really good. It's going to be the best thing that Dallas do this season for sure.
See, I'm not sure. I've not watched it yet, and I'm being a bit and ahhing because also modern day Cowboys are just a bit disappointing. But you think it's worth the watch, do you?
It's great, yeah. People have been comparing it to The Last Dance. Obviously, Michael Jordan. It's not quite at that level for me because that came during COVID when we all needed it. But it is really, really well done.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Jerry Jones likes it. I keep hearing him talk about it.
He's the main star.
Jerry as well. Cool. Win total then 7.5. Strength of schedule, like I said, 22. I have gone over 7.5.
Yep.
I just think it's too low. And I think the offense could be really good. And they've got a 3 or 4 week stretch where in the middle of the season, when I looked earlier, they should win all those games. You know, they should beat the Giants twice. So again, I think if they had Micah Parsons, this would be one of the easiest overs. But yeah, I'll still go over because the offense will be good enough.
I'll creep over with you. I don't know how much you've looked at the schedule. From the back end of the schedule, it is totally brutal. So these wins need to come early, to be honest. When it gets into the week before Thanksgiving, we go Philadelphia, Chiefs on Thanksgiving, Lions, Vikings, Chargers, Commanders. So, and then they finish with they can beat the Giants in the last week of the season. But got to rack up some wins early. I'm going to go over with you. It'd be interesting. Sorry, I'm interested.
Game's gonna have some points.
I'm interested to see the line now next week.
Yeah, you'll be favourites. Yeah. It's just how much. Yeah, you're right. That Thanksgiving game, by the way, going to be some points. There'll be some yards and points in that game with how this Cowboys team. Cool. Last but certainly least, then the New York Football Giants. I listened to a pod yesterday where the guy was like, "There's no doubt in my mind that the offensive line is average. This team will go way over their win total," which surprised me. But they've had a busy offseason. On offense, they've added 3 quarterbacks. Jackson Dart is the best of them, in my opinion, but he won't start. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are your vets. And then Cam Scatterboo has been added in from Arizona State to be their second running back. And they've added a couple of veteran backup offensive linemen. On defense, their biggest addition was Abdul Carter for sure in the draft. It looks like a really, really good pick. Javon Holland, the player that me and Patrick both really like, added in free agency. And then Paulson Adebo's come in to try and start at corner for them and fix some secondary issues that they've had. Surprisingly, after 2 bad seasons, it is the same stuff. I did not think I'd be saying that, but it is the same stuff as it was last season across the board. Their strength of schedule is 32 in the NFL. It is the hardest schedule in the NFL, and if you just look at it, you can see how it is so incredibly hard. And their win total is 5.5 wins, which I think is actually the lowest in the NFL, mainly because of their schedule, to be honest. So yeah, what's the vibes like in New York? Important year for them. It feels like if they don't win this year, everything's over. But yeah, what you've got a lot of Giants people in your life on Twitter and stuff, been a division rival. What's the general vibe with this team?
The general vibe is obviously got some. When you have a talented unit like they have that they've just added to Abdul Carter, obviously the defensive line, you feel like you can hang your hat on that within the division. I don't think they're expecting to knock off the Eagles to win the division. However, when you then combine that with a first-round rookie that you're hoping to see during the season, I think the vibes feel okay. Now, when if you start 0-5, it then becomes quite difficult, doesn't it, to kind of keep those vibes going. But Jackson Dart, I think a lot of it depends on when we see him and then his play from there, right? To take that into next season. Because my God, surely Brian Daboll needs him to look good. Because I can't believe I'm going to pick him. Spoiler, by the way. I'm picking Daboll again, first coach fired, like I did last year. Like he should have been the first coach fired. I can't believe he's still got a job. But yeah, I think the vibes it's interesting because I feel like Russell Wilson's become a fall guy as well. Someone easy to replace with your first round rookie, right? It feels like no one really, we've got Russ. Do you know what I mean? We'll hang our hat on Russell Wilson now. I don't feel like he has that kind of fan base around him and support. It's going to be all, when can we see Dart, basically, and can we keep him healthy?
Yeah, it's weird as well because the offense kind of suits Russ short term. But you're right, that is the sort of quarterback he is now. Yeah, he is, and you're right. It's probably actually more positive because of Dart, and it's weird because if Wilson plays fine and plays most of the season and they win 7 games, that's probably worse for Daboll because he probably needs Dart to come in and look good to be like, we've got the quarterback. This guy's done it before with Josh Allen. Let's keep him. Whereas if it's like Dart doesn't even play, it's like, should we just fresh start it next year with a new head coach that can work with Dart? It's a bit of a weird one for Daboll. He probably needs Wilson to be bad and then Dart to come in and be good. But again, he could have started Dart, but I think clearly some concerns he's not just quite ready yet for NFL football. But yeah, I'm with you on the defense. In terms of reasons to believe in them and going back to the hype, defensive line is clearly the one. The whole defense actually has holes in it because, they're a team with a 5.5 win total, but not just the line. There's a couple of other players we've just spoken about. Like even Javon Holland's a good player. I don't mind the linebackers against the run, especially, and the defensive line is great. So it feels like the defense would be disappointing if it's not a top 10 unit, right? I think that's probably their main reason to believe in them. And then you've got one of the best wide receivers on the other side of the ball that's probably going to get 10 to 15 targets every game. I think they're 2 key reasons for me, mate, I put to believe in them.
Yeah, and I think because obviously we always talk about, like, we've done this format, a reason to believe in New York would to be a serviceable team, right? That's going to be in games late and maybe relevant still midway through the season, even though the schedule is absolutely disgusting. But it just feels like you've got that line, you've got all the talent around it, you've got a super exciting wide receiver, first round pick last year. Obviously, Neighbours, just incredible. You hope that your running back room could be pretty good. Tyrone Tracy was a good kind of breakout candidate late last year. He was 5th round pick. We've got Cam Scatterboo. Obviously, he's down in the 3rd in the depth chart at the moment. It would be a lot of fun in New York if he was good also and could prove maybe short yardage at first or catching out the backfield. I think it would be really fun for New York because they take on those characters, right? Like they took on DeVio, didn't they, as like kind of one of their own because he was kind of like an Italian or whatever, and they kind of took with that, even though they were absolutely terrible still. Feels like
they're doing this. Everyone was doing this.
Yeah, they feel like they need something too. I think you could see some improvement overall from the Giants this season.
Yeah, me too. There's some key pieces there they've got right. It's just it'll fall a lot on Jackson Dart, but I don't think they'll know this year if he's the guy or not. I don't think he'll play enough games, or even if he does, it'll be a bit of a. This obviously didn't work out, but a Will Levis type scenario where they have to have 2 seasons, a Bryce Young where you want to play them 2 seasons, Caleb Williams where it's 2 seasons. I don't think he's going to be bad enough to know after 1 year. I actually really liked him in the draft process. Anyone listen knows I had him higher than all the other people on our pods. So I actually really, really like him. Again, I think he should be starting, but I think the problem is their schedule is so hard. There's not an obvious game to start him in.
I've got it up now, and I've got an idea for you. If you can kind of hold on to Russell Wilson, look, the season is going to be up and down. You hope the defense is going to be great. The last 5 weeks of the season, you go New England, Washington, Minnesota, Vegas, and Dallas. That, for me, feels okay, a 5-game stretch. Still pretty tricky, but you're missing out Philadelphia, you're missing out the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Chargers. I feel like towards the end of the season, because Russell's not your guy for the future, is he? My God, You're just plugging him in. So it's just like, give yourself 5 weeks to have a great look of what you can work with next year. Because they've got a late bye as well, by the way, the Giants.
Yeah, they do, yeah. That feels late, though, doesn't it? It feels like Sunday night for November. Giants, Bears, November the 9th, but then there's Lions.
It feels late because we're not patient anymore, are we?
No, true, yeah.
With our rookies. So it feels like, can you kind of hold on? Maybe it depends on how ugly the schedule gets as well. And then maybe if Russ is kind of having a down year again or whatever. So it's just, He's not an exciting guy anymore, is he? Russell, he's not a guy that you can get.
Check it though, isn't he? At least he's gonna check it down and he's gonna chuck it. There'll be no middle. Yeah. So Malik Neighbors will be getting a lot of bombs, but that'll be it. I just got a weird feeling that the New York fans are gonna like Russell Wilson. Not for the whole season, but for like 8 weeks, he's gonna be there.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Maybe not week 3, but
week 3 Sunday night football.
We'll see. But yeah, defensive line, just incredible for anyone. Yeah, Dexter Lawrence, one of the best nose tackles in the NFL. Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, like that defensive unit is going to be absolutely incredible. Let's move on to reasons not to believe in them. But I've got a question for you first. Week 3, we're in this stadium watching this team. I do not want my team to lose when I'm spending that money to go and see them play. What's my best case scenario? Do I need the Giants to be 1-1? Fine start to the season, like coming into a normal game, the Chiefs turn up, play really well and win? Is there a risk if they're 0-2, it's the first home game, it's Sunday night, Russell Wilson's first play of the game is a 60-yard bomb? Am I getting an ugly Chiefs loss? Like, what do I need to happen in week 1 and 2 for me to feel good about week 3 when we're on the plane?
Yeah, I think personally, can I tell you what I want in my selfish way? And it'll suit you in the end, because I think New York winning at Dallas in week 2 would give the stadium. So if Russ looks terrible in week 1 and week 2, it's going to be dead. The tickets are going to be dropping like flies on stubble with the prices. I think if they can beat Dallas in week 2 and then come out, Russ is kind of slinging the ball on Kansas City. Chiefs are clearly going to come back and eventually, I'll be shocked if we don't see a Kansas City win. But for me, that feels the best case scenario, that New York have amped the stadium up a little bit by winning a game, and Russell Wilson plays well for maybe a quarter and a half.
My disaster scenario is the Giants are 0-2, desperate for a win. The Chiefs are 1-1 after losing awfully to the Eagles again. And the whole vibe is down, and I've got to sit there and I'm like, oh my God, I do not need Jawan Taylor against Abdul Carter for 35 snaps in a row. We'll see. The defense will definitely be good. Reasons not to believe in them then. I think I alluded to it earlier when I said I listened to a pod where the guy mentioned if the offensive line is average, I think they'll be okay, good team. With this, who's starting at quarterback, you need the offensive line to be good. I think the left tackle's good. I'm not sure about the rest. So for me, I think reason not to believe in them is the offensive line, I think. And I also think it's the scenario of the whole organization. I think when you've got the GM and the head coach, you probably should be fired and not. Every decision they make week to week, what's it for? I'm a bit worried it's more for their job than for the actual team. So I think they're in a weird position where there'll be trades made or there'll be players not playing. There'll be Dart on the sideline for so long. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they panic and they bring Dart in week 4 against the Ravens and you're like, oh my God, that was a terrible decision. I think they're the things for me. I think it's offensive line, and then there's the strange scenario we find ourselves in of a bad team that's kept everyone for 2 years in a row.
If we clicked our fingers now and we fast forwarded 12 months and we was talking about this division again, with Joe Schoen and Dayball still, they must have won some games. And Jackson Dart must look like Jaden Daniels, because otherwise I just can't see, like you just said there, it's week-to-week decision-making for a bad team never works. And it's not working in New York. So a lot of it's going to hinge on Dart, right? And like you said, if you're going 0 for 3 and looking bad, and all of a sudden you're calling your rookie in week 4, it feels like it could be a bad situation, to be honest. My reason to not believe was a bit of a specific one. It's not just kind of like a lack of talent in some places, like the O-line may not be very good at all. It's Malik Neighbors is kind of keeps picking little health issues.
Got a back injury, isn't he, I think?
Yeah, back injury. And it just feels like the Giants clearly need him. He's clearly their best skill player, maybe their best player, definitely their best player on offense overall. But it feels like a really exciting player that the franchise needs as well. I mean, Jackson Dart is going to need him when he sees the field. For me, that would be a reason to not believe. I really hope that he can be healthy this season.
Yeah, because they haven't invested much in the backups in that position either.
No, there ain't now there. There's nothing there.
That Slayton again is going to get like 900 yards. The guy walks into 900 yards because no one else can play on offense. So yeah, I think that's a good shout, because a back injury for receivers, back injury for anyone's not good, but for a receiver, I think at times he in particular is going to get hit when he gets tackled. There's a lot, because he's going to catch every pass, so he's going to be getting a lot more hits than some wide receivers might. Yeah, and Russell Wilson's not prone to throwing a hospital ball over the top of someone's head, which worries me if I was him. And the reason I wanted to say for my last reason is I banged on about it 3 or 4 times, but it's the schedule. And for anyone that doesn't know why, I think in 4th team in the division, like, they should have an easy schedule. Obviously, all their division games are relatively hard. 2 of the teams are going to be good to very good. The other team is offense is going to be elite, so maybe that counteracts your defense. And they also play the AFC West, all 4 teams. That's probably going to be one of the best divisions. And they play the NFC North. So they basically play the 2 best divisions, which is why. So yeah, it's not a good place. There's a lot of good defenses there as well. So we'll see.
However, on the 5th of October, which I believe is week 5, they go to New Orleans for the Trash Bowl, which is going to be that should be a winning game. If you want to put Jackson Dart in there, maybe get him a win before they play Philadelphia the week after is one.
Short week then. There's not many good places to put Dart in. I'm not gonna. Yeah, Giants Saints. Yeah, that could be the battle for the number 1 overall pick potentially.
That's your 6 p.m. game on Channel 5, by the way.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to say the same about week 1, Giants Commanders. That screams Channel 5 as well. But there we go. Cool. Win total then. I've actually slagged the Giants off here, which will surprise people with my next pick. But over 5.5. I don't know if I'm just doing this because I'm going to be in the stadium and I'm trying to reverse jinx it. I've gone for over 5.5. I just think the defensive line is going to be so good that it could beat a couple of these teams that are a bit unexpected. They could win the game against the Cowboys, against the Chargers. There's not many others. The Patriots, do you know what I mean? The Raiders, like, it feels like they could win a couple of those games just because of the defensive line. And I do like Jackson Dart, so I think the earlier he plays, the better for me. So yeah, I've gone over 5.5. It's probably a bit of a surprise there.
I'm going under. However, you can talk yourself into it, because I don't think we're talking up the defensive line. It is ridiculously talented. And if your offense can keep you in a game in the 4th quarter, that's when your defensive line's going to win you a game, right? So you can talk yourself into that. I have, and going under. It's a very hard schedule. A couple of wins could come late, with Patriots, see how they are, Raiders, Cowboys last week of the season. So I do definitely think it's got a chance.
Yeah, it's not a big chance, yeah. That also means I have gone over on all the teams in the division not named the Eagles. So there we go.
Yes.
Great. Very good. Cool. Let's pick our winner and playoff teams and get out of here. Division order. It's your division, mate. So you go first. Who's winning the division?
We're going back to back in terms of winning the division, at least. So obviously Philadelphia.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've gone for the Eagles as well. One of the easier ones. I don't know if people are picking Commanders or not. I think I see more people picking them to miss out on the playoffs. Yeah, I think the Eagles are just too strong as well. Second place then.
It's going to have to be Washington, because Michael Parsons has disappeared to the north. So I'm going Washington. I fully had them out of the playoffs. The back.
Yeah, me too. 48 hours ago, this name said Cowboys. I'm not going to lie. It's going to be a 10-win Cowboys team that gets there on the back of Parsons, Diggs, and then a great offense, but not anymore. So yeah, I've gone for Commanders as well, which means I've actually gone for the same exact order as last season, which is Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, and Giants. Do you have you've gone over on the Cowboys, so that means you've gone the same then? You've got the same order.
Yeah, I think Dak is a healthy Dak is not going to come bottom of the division, I don't think.
Cool. And then, yeah, we have 2 playoff teams each left, so we're going for 2.
Yeah, we have to go for 2. I think Washington are going to miss the playoffs, but the Cowboys traded the best player yesterday, so I feel like I'm kind of stuck now with having Washington. I only had 2 teams from the North because I had Minnesota missing out, didn't I?
We both did, yeah. And I was just about to say,
Yeah.
I keep saying that technically we can still change this. So I think on the fly, I think I'm going to change my NFC North if we're allowing that to 3 teams. Yeah, I'm going to go for the Vikings, I think. And I had it on the podcast with Lee. I had the Commanders missing out maybe by 1 or 2 places. So I think I'm going to stick to that and say it's 3. Are you joining me or are you sticking to your original?
I'll stick to my guns, and I'd be so happy if I'm wrong and Washington win 2 games. But
and then, yeah, I mentioned it earlier, but under overs, I've gone for Eagles under 11.5, and I've gone over Cowboys 9.5. 7.5. Over Commanders now at 9.5, and over Giants 5.5. Don't know why. Patrick's gone for over 11.5 Eagles, under 9.5 Commanders, over 7.5 Cowboys, and under 5.5 for the Giants. That means, by the way, if you've gone under for the Eagles and for the Commanders and over on the Cowboys, you're having it that the Commanders have 9 wins and the Cowboys have to have 8 to finish in that way around. Very precise prediction from you.
sure.
But that's it for our final division preview. When we do we're going to probably do our prediction episode with a mini week 1 preview, all on one episode because Patrick's flying to the States next Wednesday. So that'll be out the early to middle of next week, where we'll do I'll recap all of our playoff teams, and then we'll do awards. We'll do some fun ones like first coach fired, that Patrick will continually pick Brian Dable no matter what until he goes. And then we'll pick a few games to do a bit of a preview on. I think we're going to probably change our preview and review structure a bit this year. We don't maybe talk about every game on the preview, but we'll see next week when we put that episode out. But thanks everyone for listening. These division previews have been really fun. You can go follow us at Go2Pod on Twitter. You can go follow Patrick at MugsNFL to get any of your NFL gear. We've probably got 48 hours left before any orders won't get there before he departs. If anyone wants any Russell Wilson mugs, then they are available. But yeah, this has been us. We've enjoyed it, and we will speak to you guys soon.
I'll speak to you soon.